basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here.
Well, it is that time again for the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman Tanguay along for the ride, Zoom and Pod. Jeff is on assignment. That's what we're going with. Jeff is on assignment. Couldn't make it today. We'll do our best to fill in for him. We are brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of CLNS Media. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. Bob, we got a lot of work to do here. Just to tease folks, we will talk Caitlin. The Knicks are dangerous. The draft, and how about those Nuggets? But we lead off with the Celtics. And despite the fact that they are in control of what we've seen so far in the playoffs, the quality of their play, are you concerned?
Yes, I'm wary. You know, I'm skeptical. I hate to use the word skeptical, but that, you know, and then I keep thinking about it. Are we all overreacting? You know, blown leads are not endemic to the Boston Celtics. The blown leads are part and parcel of the NBA. They're not necessarily blown leads as much sometimes as they are surge, counter surge, and teams get hot and cold and all that. We are holding the Celtics to we have a specific circumstance here. No other team has the particular dynamics in this tournament, if you want to call it, you know, that the Celtics do. They have the particular dynamic because they've got a recent past history of teasing their fans, losing a finals with a lead, then having the tease last year of coming from 0-3 and then losing game 7 at home. These are scars for fans and media to a degree, you know, so we've seen them fail and we've seen them and any of them circumstances of big loss leads, including the 22-point lead they lost to this particular team they're playing right now, you know, during the regular season. They lost that game to Cleveland. Everybody harps upon. So maybe we overreact when maybe it's a little bit more of a normal NBA ebb and flow and surge and counter surge. But it was even and then, you know, the last game, you know, there was something there. 15-point lead, looked like they were heading in the right direction in the fourth quarter. And next thing you know, they're one Max Struss open three from peril. It could have been a 2-point game if he makes that shot. And so people, you know, are anxious about that. And you tend to forget how they got the lead. And how they got the lead was the guys that, you know, you want to stepping up, namely Brown and Tatum. Are we too hard on them, frankly? Should we take a pause, take a little mental time out here and give these guys a break? They're getting these leads because they're good players.
Well, you also have to maintain the lead, and no, we are not being too hard on them. I don't.
All right.
I don't.
Okay.
I mean, they won the game at the end, but what I wonder is if it's going to come back to bite them at some point where they don't expect it. You know, I'm looking ahead to the Knicks, and I understand the Knicks are better. I think the Knicks will beat the Pacers. I think the Knicks are better than Cleveland, but they're still down a man, as we know, and the Celtics should still beat the Knicks. The question I have for the Celtics right now is, you know, which team are they going to be, and can they jump from one to the other? Can they go from being Jason Tatum's team, where he gets his shots and he gets his 33 points, and can they go from being a complete team where they share the basketball and they get quality shots? And I think sometimes there's a struggle with that. You know, I mean, you know as well as I do, you know, in the fourth quarter, that's when the stars in the NBA want the ball. That's when they want to come in and get it done. And, you know, the guy in Denver, the big guy, he's just as happy passing the ball as he is shooting the ball. We'll get to them in a minute. So I wonder if Tatum's ego or the perception of who he's supposed to be as the guy gets in the way of the team.
Well, it's a tough line to walk for guys with the range of skill that he has. I've seen lots of great players, and the word I always use is calibrate. You have to calibrate your skills and your game with your teammates, and how best to when to do what, when to shoot, when to pass, when to, you know, and when you can get a shot anytime you want. He could force up He could go, as Johnny Most would say, he could go tricky dribbling himself into a fadeaway 23-footer. Steph Curry does it all the time and they go in, but
Right.
he can do that. But is that the course of action you want to take at a particular moment in time? The answer is probably no. There's a responsibility. It's hard to learn. I say very often that the difference, I'm jumping around here, but difference between the vintage Michael Jordan and what LeBron James had become was that Jordan had to learn how to share, and LeBron had to learn how to assume the responsibility that we're talking about of being the best player,
Right.
and stepping up. And it's not an easy call at how to do that, and it just isn't. And it's only available. This is only a problem when players are supremely talented and have the range of skill that these particular people that we're talking about have. And Tatum falls into that category. He's a guy 6'10" or whatever, 11, who has can handle the basketball very smoothly and is quick and agile and limber and a whole bit, and he can do what he wants technically on the court. But the problem is you don't want to always do what you can do. You have to know when not to do that. And you have a team. We've only had I forget which game it was, but we had a game in the playoffs this year where they had a beautiful box score. Everybody over 15. It was great. And it's when they had, and that's the ideal ultimately. Not every night. Tatum 33, Brown 28. There's 61 of your 103 points or something.
Right.
That's not the way to go. I don't think that you want all the time. It's there, it's available, and but that's the only way you can win a game. Fine. So but we keep having the same discussion, and we're going to keep having it. I'm afraid because and that's just the nature of the beast. Meanwhile, they are up 3-1, and we expect that they're going to win this series, and we know they have to up the game a little more in the next two rounds. And that's what we're looking for. And by the way, sooner or later, we presume they will get Porzingis back. And and that's in terms of winning the championship. That's
yeah. I mean, that's necessary. Yeah, we've talked about that. I do want to point out though, in Game 4, Game 4, Tatum goes to the hoop, dishes to Brown. Brown keeps the J. That seals it. That's the type of stuff you like to see. I mean, boom. He
yeah.
To the hoop and he gave it to Brown, and Brown, there's no doubt that Jason Tatum is the best player on the team. There's no doubt. And there's no doubt that he's a top 5 player. We all know it. I think that sometimes I feel that he thinks, and the mentality of the NBA is he thinks he has to do it every game, and he doesn't. Now, the reason, Anthony Edwards is scoring like 40 points in Minnesota is because he has to, right? I mean, he has to. Same thing, SGA and OKC. He has to be the guy. Tatum doesn't have to.
No, not what the teammates. Not what the teammates he's got.
No, that's the thing is, it's like, I would say, Jason, everybody knows you're a great player. You're a perennial all-star. If you keep going, you're going to the Hall of Fame. He doesn't have to do anything else. If you guys play as a team, you got a damn good shot as a banner.
I mean, look at this. We have no problem. Who cares? Who has a problem if Holiday or White are given the big shot?
No,
you have no problem with that.
No problem. I mean, we all know they wouldn't be where they are without Jason Tatum. They just wouldn't be. But I wish he knew it. You know what I mean?
It's. There's a thing my late great mentor Frank Power at Boston College used to call, and what Tyson called, he used to call it the connection, and it was the connection between the head and the body talent, and the necessary connection to utilize the talent you have from the control tower up here, and it's and the great ones figured it out. Larry figured it out. For example,
Sure.
Havlicek had figured it out. I don't have to restrict it to Celtics. There's plenty of
Tim Duncan.
Duncan was right. Now Duncan was a very different player than Tatum. He didn't have this face up dexterity. Right. He was his great asset was post up, and and rebounding and defense, and I was a wonderful player, but it's very different. They would be highly compatible. They would be a wonderful pair.
But do you think? But Bob, sorry to interrupt you. But do you think Tatum could take Duncan's mentality?
Duncan is, I don't know. Duncan is so laid back and unflappable. I don't know how much of this stems from. I've often speculated it's a great unanswerable thing. I said the greatest asset that Duncan brought was that he wasn't born here, that he didn't grow up in the AAU culture, that he grew up in an entirely different culture.
Right.
And his blessing was he was born in the U.S. Virgin Islands, not in the United States of America, and that he came without all the baggage that the AAU mentality, and that has infested these generations of players. All the rest of them all have to, get through this AAU nonsense.
I got to get my touches.
How to do that? So that he was, and of course he was perfectly suited for the coach, and the coach was perfectly suited for
the team
and for him. And that's a marriage that was truly made in athletic heaven. Popovich and Duncan, and that you don't get too many great pet pairings like that. So, no, he's unfinished. There's unfinished business, and he's not a finished product in that regard. If this is the finished product, well, we're going to have to step back and deal with it. We like to think that there's one.
I don't think it is either, and I like him. I sit there and I like him. Tatum's a good guy. I mean, he's a good guy. He's a good, appears to be a good father.
Yeah, we know that.
For scholarship. I mean, he's working for where he comes from, the kids in East St. Louis, teaching them about establishing long-term wealth and education. Yeah. I mean, I'm rooting for this dude. I really am. I'm really rooting for this guy. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks is so easy to play. I can make my Celtic picks and make my entry in less than 60 seconds. Quick withdrawals and easy gameplay and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Celtics and NBA fans, you can get in on Prize Picks in 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. On Prize Picks this week, I'm selecting Jason Tatum to dish out more than 5 assists and his teammate Jaylen Brown to have more than 22.5 points. Download the app today and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Prize Picks. So I guess the prediction. What? Bob, you're the wordsmith. The demise of the Nuggets was greatly premature and exaggerated.
Reports of my death are exaggerated. Yes, said Mark Twain. Well, it looked bad. I mean, when you lose 0-2, you're 0-2 at home. That's teams come back from 0-2, but seldom when they lost them both at home. And it's just completely different mentality. Last night they figured out a way to neutralize Edwards. They finally got to Edwards. He was 5 for 15. He was out of sorts. And meanwhile, conversely, after there was so much talk about how with their triumvirate of big men. They've got 3 big guys, with Karl Anthony Towns, Gobert, and Naz Reid, that they had befuddled Jokic. Well, last night, Jokic, on the night when he gets his MVP, and he shows the people how justified it was. It goes for 40 points, 17 rebounds, having 9 assists. Did you see the one play he made when he tipped the rebound to himself and in the same motion threw a 70-foot touchdown pass for a sneak away layup?
I did not.
I
gotta look it up.
I'll tell you how many people that I've ever seen in the NBA that have ever done that. The answer is 0. Even my friend I love the great Bill Walton. That was something I never saw him do. You got to see this. It's just and it's so casual. It's so logical for him. The game is just so logical, and he does it always at his pace. And we know that. Anyway, but we were having a different dialogue 3 days ago. Oh, gee, they're bothering him. So he certainly showed the world last night. But that's a fascinating series. suddenly everything's back in their favor now. But boy, not many people were sure this was going to come out this way.
But in hindsight, which is always 2020, if there was one player that would be unflappable, as
Yeah.
you say, and would not be bothered by being down 0-2 and going on the road, it's him.
But the noise,
He didn't care.
no, the noise, and then and whatever noise there was, he would ignore, and oh no, no question. So that's a great resurrection, and now we want to see the response. Now we're going. It's a we want to see the response,
Bob, it's over. It's over.
All right.
Don't you think?
Well, yeah, more than like. I mean, I put my money on Denver. I mean, to win the series. Yeah. But I want to see how hard they have to work to do it, and what Minnesota's going to. But regardless, okay, let's say they fulfill the comeback and it makes a little history there with coming from 0-2 when you lost your first two at home. But the fact is that Minnesota has let the world know that they're going to be around.
I felt that way at the end of the regular season.
Yeah, and they're going to be around. Meanwhile, the other Western series, I can't read. I can't read the OKC Dallas series.
Yeah.
No, which is it's. I don't know.
Well, health is having something to do with it as far as Dallas is.
Lukic is limping around,
right.
But Luka Doncic is limping around, but they've had their moments, and the other guys, are pretty good. But so it's not that one. I just can't read it.
I'm kind of like, after Denver, Minnesota, then you go over to that one and you're like,
no.
Does it really matter?
Well, OKC, they were the number one seed, and
they were
based on the tiebreakers. There was a 3-way tie, and once I read a nice little thing about, Holmgren he didn't get the rookie of the year that Wembanyama did,
right?
Well, they got an asset there in Holmgren. If that, but once again, if the body, he's still. Every time I look at him, I still can't believe what I'm looking at. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Does he weigh 200? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know, but it looks like he could fall over.
But he can play this game, and what a shot blocker! In addition to being 7'3", he's got everything that of the instinct and the timing that a shot blocker that makes a great shot blocker. And he's got that. He's got everything going for him as a shot blocker.
It reminded me when you talk about the Denver series. I remember Reggie Jackson. I don't know if Dan wrote this or you wrote this or somebody wrote this. When the Red Sox went up on the Angels, and Reggie Jackson was playing for the Angels, and somebody saw Reggie in a store and he said, "It's over. And we're not coming back from this." And for some reason, that popped into my head when I saw how Denver came back.
Yeah, it was
memory lane.
That was a champion. That's a championship response. That they have shown
big time.
It's a championship response, and reminds you that we you and I agreed that they were no matter how many games the Celtics won regular season, Denver's the favorite. The Celtics have to prove they can beat Denver when it matters, and that's still the case.
All right, after seeing the Celtics, to try to take a different angle on this now, after seeing how the Celtics have played down at times to Cleveland, is there a danger against the Knicks?
Well, assuming it is the Knicks, and I still want I want to salute what they're doing. I mean, and give Leon Rose credit for building a roster that has sustained this. They are missing 3 very important players right now, and Randall, who's not been out since the end of January, Anunoby, who won't be playing in their next game, Robinson, who was their starting center, not Isaiah Hartenstein, and Bogdanovich, who was a useful sub, and Brunson, well, he was hurt, but apparently looked pretty good last night. And they won't go away. They keep reinventing themselves. I'm really, and now Alec Burks, who was buried doing nothing, and well, guess what? He's helping them now. I'm just saluting him. And Tibbs has done a tremendous job, and boy, are they sticking up for him. Josh Hart is like his spokesperson now. He's so angry that if people wanted to knock Tibbs, and he shoots off every day about it. And
did you know him very well?
No, I know him a little bit, and I liked him. I had some nice. I remember having one really good conversation with him during the 2008 run in L.A. and and I know him casually, but no, not really. But he was very he's just such a basketball,
That's why I root for the guy, because I remember when he was with the Celtics. I think some of the locker room guys or some people always used to say something like, Tibbs has moved in. He's like he never leaves.
Oh yeah. Oh
you
no,
know.
he should have a cot there. I mean, he was
One of
the
those
best.
guys. And just Steve Clifford's the same way. Who went to the University of Farmington. Shout out. Guys that just. Who else am I? Who coached Philadelphia. He was from Portland, Maine.
Oh, Brett Brown.
Yeah, Bob Brown, like his dad. I saw his dad coach against us. I mean,
Yeah.
these guys that like go to Europe and they go to Argentina and they go anywhere to coach. I mean, Tibbs is that guy. I just root. I mean, again, I've said it before. It sucks he's coaching the Knicks, but you gotta love the guy. I just love him.
It's interesting. He and Carlisle were opposing assistants over 20 years ago when the Pacers played the Knicks. When Larry was coaching, Carlisle was his assistant.
Wow.
Jeff
Right.
Van Gundy's assistant was Tom Thibodeau.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. There's a great picture in the Post today of
Right.
Rick next to Larry during one of those playoff series, So, but I'm not writing off. I'm sorry. I'm not writing off the Pacers. I got.
Nor
7.
should you. I mean, I'm
going 7. I'm going this one 7.
Yeah, I did. But the star of the Knicks, that guy.
He came back with another one, 44 last night.
I mean, he's Superman. Man. That kid.
Playoff time, there is nothing like it. I mean, the energy, the effort amps up a good 50 to 75% compared to the regular season. And that's why you want to go to GameTime, the authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA. Now, they make getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. And here's the deal with the GameTime app. The prices of those tickets go down the closer you get to tip-off. They've got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, and you can also get the view from your seats with the lowest price guaranteed. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets. So here's what you should do. You download the GameTime app and you browse it, and you can see that you can get Celtics and Bruins playoff tickets for less than $150. And again, the closer to game time you get, the lower the ticket price is. These are terrific deals for big-time postseason games. Last-minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last-minute sports, concert, comedy, theater tickets. All in pricing. Toggling this feature shows that the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout and also the lowest price guarantee. Or GameTime will credit you 110% of the difference. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. So, take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.
I have a question for you, though, about coaches, because I've had this discussion. It seemed for a while that you were going to have to be – it goes to show in the media, to quote the great William Goldman, we don't know anything.
Nobody knows anything.
Nobody knows anything, right? Because I thought for a while, like when Doc was the coach, I thought we were going to – and then Jason Kidd was coaching, and I thought, okay – in order to be an NBA coach and in order to get the attention of the player, you had to have played in a league.
Oh,
right. I thought that's the way we were going.
Yeah.
And it's not true. You see a guy like Thibodeau, right?
Well,
or the kid coaching in at OKC.
Okay, Danielle, and look at Nick Nurse.
Nurse is another guy.
Won a championship.
And of course, Joe. I mean, here for the Celtics. So
Chris Finch at Minnesota.
Right.
All right,
another guy. I mean,
I think it's interesting. If you study, it'd be a good overview for somebody, and study the 50-year swing. There was a period of time when the coaches were all when I came in the league and the coaching covering in '69, we had a lot of coaches who had played in the league, and then we got an influx of college coaches. All of a sudden, there was a the Dick Mattas and the Cotton Fitzsimmonses and the John McLeods.
Right.
And that was the way to go for a while there, and then we swung back, and it'd be interesting. I mean, you raise a very good point, and it'd be a very good study. And you're right. There was a theory going on and that you had to get their attention. You had to be somebody that they could, and that they could identify as an NBA person, a player. So it's interesting. Yeah, but we've had a swing back and forth on that one over the years. It'll be interesting to see. Check it out.
Yeah, it is. It's fascinating right now what's going on in the league. I don't know, Bob. I need something to do this summer. I just wrote down a little note. Coaches, I don't know. Maybe I'll taking a break from the old teaching. Maybe I'll look into that. So Caitlin, 20 in the second half, 10 turnovers.
10 turnovers.
Welcome to the WNBA.
Well, they're laying in wait for her. And there's two layers of things going on here. One is the general idea of the hotshot kid, whoever it happens to be, and they want to. And the other one is the racial thing, and that finally someone's addressed head on more than once this week. And the fact that there have been so many of these wonderful Black women, great, not good, great players that have been with us over the years and not getting the kind of attention that this new white girl is getting, not to mention the $28 million contract, Nike. There's a lot of talk out there. I knew it was going to happen. It was sooner or later, it had to happen. And it's here. It's all hitting the fan now. But anyway, I don't think it had anything to do with what happened last night, but I'm just going in general terms, that issue has been aired out. Now it's airing it out.
But also, of course it is, Bob, and it's there and it needs to be addressed, no doubt about it. The one good thing is she's bringing attention to the league, so hopefully she brings more attention to all the players. Because as you mentioned, she's not the greatest player to ever come in the WNBA, not by a long shot. I mean,
she's the greatest long distance shooter. Fine. And that gets your attention. But was she Maya Moore? Was she? We can go on and on. Was she?
Yeah, we can go. We've talked about it.
Was she? What was she? AJ? No. And
Leslie.
Well, but that's a.
But here's the thing: is that I think it's always good because the league's getting attention, so you'll see these other players. There's no doubt about it. But is there an unfair? It doesn't matter. What I was going to say, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. It doesn't matter whether it's the NBA or the WNBA or whatever. When the hot rookie comes in, you got a target on your back. Same thing with Larry. It doesn't matter. When Tatum came in, when you're the number one pick, whoever you are, when LeBron came in, what can you do, Rook? And that she's going to go through that. It happens in the NBA. It happens in the WNBA.
Yeah, no, she's really going through it. It's going to go through it, and because there is that, resentment, if you will, that there was so many players haven't gotten the attention that they deserved.
Sure.
But anyway, there's no look. But this is a rising tide lifting a boat here. I'll tell you for the WNBA, it's phenomenal how we're even talking about it the way we do it. Like I said so many times during the course of the winter, I had more conversations in certain 2 and 3 day periods about women's basketball than I had in 30 years. Right. And I mean local, just people at the coffee shop, unimaginable. And this is a great thing for them. So I hope they can follow through. I hope they put on a great season. I see the Las Vegas Aces got off to a good start. They're the prohibitive favorites again. The Liberty won their first game. They loaded up last year. And that would be good for the league if they fulfill their destiny too. So
but she bounced back. I mean, the kid's tough.
Oh,
she bounced back in the second half.
She started off poor, right? She backed back. She wound up eventually 4 for 11. Well, it was 4 for 11 on threes. She only took 4 of 2s. She was 5 for 15 overall, 3 assists, and the 10 turnovers. So yeah, there you go. And 2 quick fouls. When I tuned in, she was on the bench. Because what a night last night. I'm watching hockey. I'm watching the Knicks. No, really. I watched the Bruins game in its entirety and flipped on the Knicks and then got to see the last period and a half after the hockey game. And by then I had to check out 20 of 8. I said, the women started 7:30. I check in and she's on the bench. She had 2 fouls right away. So that was
you need more TVs, Bob.
Yeah.
You know, it's been a problem recently. The draft just doesn't have the sizzle it once did. And I
Well,
don't know if it ever will.
you know, it's funny. I think all the obsession, how many trees died, how many voices were exhausted talking about the NFL draft and the
Oh,
quarterbacks. And you know, it started as soon as the Super Bowl was over. It never stopped until April 20, whatever that date was of the draft, you know, and it won't stop now. Of course, we've got the whole Falcons thing. That won't go away, you know, the Falcons thing, you know. And okay, this draft, it's like there's no marquee college player, American. There's nobody. And I can't tell you the name of that French kid that they're saying is going to be the number one pick.
right.
Unlike last year, when we did have something to
Well,
talk
there's
about.
so many
and we
ways
kept-
to get, but Bob, the problem is there's so many ways to get to the league. You can, you know, you can wait a
Yeah.
year, you play in the G League. You don't have to go to
Right.
college.
Right.
You don't have to go to college.
No, the system is different. They have a real PR issue here.
I can go to Spain. I'll go play for a year in Spain, and then I'll
there's a combine kind going on right now that, you know, unlike football, I know it's televised, but nobody cares.
right.
You know, nobody cares. And
What do you think? What do you think it is about football?
well, the football's advantage is twofold. Well, and for sure, and then we can start aggregate. One, betting. It's the greatest betting vehicle sport. Easy. One
Has been forever.
Two, and it's an event. It's only one during the season. It's once a week. There's a pattern and rhythm. You play the game on Sunday. You talk about the game that just was played on Monday until you beat it to death. You maybe take a deep breath on Tuesday, and then Wednesday you start build up for the next one, and talk about it incessantly for 3 days, and the cycle repeats itself now for 18 weeks, 17 games, 18 weeks. Okay, for people, it's a build event, and people love the violence of the game. It's
but if it's specifically the draft, okay, because
the draft.
The draft. This is my. I was in the elevator with a national sports personality. This was the old Giant Stadium, and there was somehow we were in with the fans going up to the press box. I'm not going to say who the person was. Fan comes on and like just breaks down the whole game, right, to this national personality, right? Just like you, I mean, Bob, I'm sure you've experienced this. You've got people telling you what play should be called, what's wrong with the game. But this guy goes on and on.
Right.
Guy gets off the thing, elevator, the guy turns to me and he just goes, blankety blank fans, and he shakes his head. I have never heard, and I don't really get into the draft, but you know, I've got kids and we're going to different sports and all this stuff, and I talk to the dads and all this stuff. I have never seen sports fans become GMs like they do in the draft. It's almost the way they used to second guess the Red Sox manager. Now, I mean, you got guys following the draft as if they're running a team. I mean, it's really a little crazy.
Well,
and they think they know what's going on.
But what I find amusing is that it's one thing to have an opinion for Joe fan, and that includes you and me, to have an opinion on a quarterback or
Right.
maybe even a wide receiver. The old days are running back, but now nobody even knows what they are, or a wide receiver. But it's don't tell me that the average person has the right to give an opinion about a center.
They do, though.
Or a safety. I'm sorry. And you know that I'm sorry. I mean, there's somebody out. Maybe if you were a really good high school football player, maybe, and you really pride yourself on your knowledge of the game, maybe you actually do watch and study and have an opinion on who's a guard versus a tackle, you know, which for most people couldn't tell you who gives a damn.
You know what the worst thing was? As soon as they made the all 22 available to the public.
Well, but it's the game. But you have to.
But the fans love it. Like from a marketing perspective, and I talked about this in my class this semester. I said the NFL has created this 365-year machine to the point where the draft is just, and people know. I mean, they know all the players, and they know all the players. They think this guy should go here and this guy should go there. Blah, blah. I've just never, and believe me, fans, you have a right. I've just never seen anything like it.
Now, just get back to what
Yeah.
And before we can wrap it up, the
Yeah.
NBA versus the NFL. Back in my day when I was covering the league, and I don't know how I became a columnist, if I still did it, but I used to have the responsibility of writing about the draft, and I, including the famous mock draft. I researched it, and yet, but there was a guys that you make the point. Everybody was 4 years and 3 or at least 3 years, if
Right.
not 4. You knew who these guys were. I went to the draft. They didn't call it a combine. I forget what they called it. I went. They used to have what's going on there. I went to it in Orlando once. I went to it in Chicago. I got to notice. I discovered guys. I famously called I have to say, I'm giving myself my props here. I called D Brown. I picked them. And they took them. I called it and they did it, and because I had done my research, but you could do it now. You got to You got to know the G League. You got to know the Ignite. You got to
Europe.
You got to know Antarctica. I mean, who knows?
You don't know. And the
So-
biggest problem, the biggest challenge is the age, because there's a reason for the most part why 19-year-old kids don't go into the NFL, because physically and emotionally they're not ready. They need it, they need more. They got to be 20,
Yeah.
20, 21, 22. Now you get 19-year-old kids. I mean, you just mentioned like Wembanyama and the guy for OKC, the big dude.
Holmgren.
I mean, they're both 19, right?
Well, Holmgren's a little older.
He's 20.
Yeah,
They're
He
kids.
he sat out the first year. Yeah.
They're kids.
Oh,
So like when you go in the draft and you go, I'm going to take this 19-year-old.
Yeah.
I can't fairly expect anything from that kid unless he's the next LeBron until he's 22.
but I have to say, I used to love. I loved it. It was my thing. I love basketball. All right.
Yeah, you
So
love basketball.
I was into it, and I really prided myself on on learning things and doing the homework and all that. And I enjoyed. It was work, but I enjoyed it. But I don't know how you can do it now. It's hard.
It's tough. It's hard. No, it's hard. All right, Robert. Jeff Goodman, Mr. Good One. Brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with Prize Picks. All right, Bob, we'll talk to you soon.